Welcome to More Than Mindset, the only podcast that bridges the gap between spirituality and success. Go beyond the mind with clarity and confidence coach Kim Guillory and learn how to integrate your passion to serve with your skills and experience to create a business you love. Let's get started.
Hey there, and welcome back to the show. Monique is here with me today. And we are going to be talking about success shame and success shaming because they both exist. And I've experienced being on both sides. And Monique has also, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just let her introduce herself and then we'll get started.
Hi, y'all. I am Monique Derouen. I am an integrative therapist, and the last several years of working with Kim specifically have put me into some different spaces and had to deal with some stories and some belief systems and even my own judgment of people and their success, just kind of like you said, being on both sides of that. So yes, I maybe once was the one that poked the bear and made fun until I was in the shoes, and then I could understand, and I can see that, and I can see just the transition and how to be, in that different level or getting up to that level or, bursting through these different glass ceilings, all of that stuff we talk about a lot, Kim. And I've experienced both sides just like you have. And so, yeah, I just want to share how that feels to be on either side of it and just, talk to you about this.
Yeah. So I did a Clubhouse room last night on this, and it was really fascinating. And it was interesting listening to other stories. We even had some who came up on the stage and were talking about the shame of succeeding as compared to their siblings, because they had been in an experience where it was very obvious that one was treated better than the other. And then the guilt that came with that. So what you just said about when we're on first of all, let me talk about what success shame is and, why I'm bringing this up. So it's when we have attained something. And guys, this could be money as well as weight loss, right? Because Monique, that's something for you right now. Like, you've lost quite a bit of weight since you've been doing this work. And so there's comments even about that. Like, you don't understand. Right? Like your little skinny self, like you wouldn't understand with your little size 2, those sorts of things. Yeah. That is success shaming. And we don't do it like to be mean or bad. It's very unconscious. It's very unintentional, and it's habitual. We don't realize that it's offending someone else, right? Until it happens to us, and then we're like, oh, I can see where I've done that before, oh, it must be nice to build that house, to buy that house, or to get that new car, whatever it is. And as entrepreneurs, we see it in the coaching business, because you have, attained a certain level of success, financial success, and, just with your business and growing. And you've experienced it on both sides, watching someone else do it and how it feels like crap. And then you being in the position of doing it and celebrating it feels like crap. It's like there's so many sides to this. It's really tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree. It is those both sides, of, yeah, when I was shaming other people, what was actually going on in me that was creating that discomfort to watch them grow or shift, or fearful that I would lose them as my people, that tribal separation. We've talked about that a lot too. And so it's like, am I envious? Am I jealous? Do I want to be like that? Maybe there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe a little envy is healthy if it's a motivation to help me get to the next space, but am I using it against myself? Am I saying, am I calling them out? Am I making fun because I'm uncomfortable with their success, with their growth, with their transitioning? And for me, 100% yes. Like, I'm just going to own it. I'm tired of lying or hiding behind the stories. Like, I'm ready to be raw and vulnerable with everything. Like, sure, I was jealous. I was envious. And I didn't know that it was available for me because no one had ever told me, shoot for your dreams. You can actually accomplish things. You can create what you want. No one had given me the foundation, the structure, the understanding for that until we really dived into this work, and I could see it was available, right? But I didn't know what I didn't know. And so, yeah, I made some comments. I said some things. I put myself in discomfort because it was hard to watch other people change and grow and shift. And then I became the other person.
Yeah. I think that's how we become compassionate and empathetic is by experiencing it for ourselves, picking on someone for a certain thing. And then you have a child and, you start to, it's so painful, but we don't know what we don't know. It's, it's so fascinating when you're aware, when you're conscious, when you're watching all of these things and how it's played out over the years. And then, what you were saying about the envy and jealousy, I was so ashamed of the envy and jealousy I was feeling, and I wasn't allowing myself to experience it, right? Because it's coming from, I can do it too. And so I'm so frustrated with myself. And so when I see someone else doing it, I'm triggered by why can't it happen for me? What's wrong with me? And then I feel ashamed for thinking that, and it kind of just gets stuck. And then I had the experience of allowing the shame, allowing the shadow, allowing the darkness. And I was like, oh, this is interesting because when I allow it to come in and kind of sit and dance with it, my mind expands and opens. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not in the resistance, but we have to first be aware that it's happening. And that's what this episode is about, is we just want to bring to awareness without labeling, without judging, without comparing, without competing, just allowing that emotion to be what it is, allowing yourself to experience it on all levels, like play with it, get a flashlight, investigate it. We're doing the work with all this emotional processing work in Self-Healing Masters. And this is part of it, is being willing to be in the fear, right? Because what happens when we succeed beyond our environment, beyond the tribe? We're so afraid to be cut off, to be eliminated.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we've talked about this before too, that separation, that disconnect, that shunning separation, it's like the worst form of punishment for any human is to be cast out, to be separated. And so none of us want to experience that. So what do? We stick with our old belief systems that keep us stuck. We people please, we bend over backwards. We become the martyrs. We do all the things and we accommodate those around us so that we don't feel uncomfortable with our growth and then our transition.
And then we see someone else do it. And then we start beating ourselves up about it.
Yeah. And so am I willing to stay in this shit think feel cycle and keep tearing myself to shreds? Or am I going to own what I'm capable of doing? And I'm sorry. I had a lot of siblings. I had to fight for my place. And I say that jokingly, but they know what I'm talking about. So I want to own what's mine. I want to know that I'm capable and I want to step into that bodysuit and be her. Mm-hmm. And I'll be damned if I'm going to tone that down for anybody now. I love my people. I support them. I honor them. I see them in such a different light on this side of the fence than I did on the other side in that judgment.
And I honor me.
Yes.
We can do both.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's okay to be in this, for them to be in that, to have the confusion, to have the separation, and still love and honor who they are and who I am. And we don't necessarily have to like each other every day of the week. But I do have that in my soul, respect for them in a different manner than I ever had before, because I'm not doing things that are not in alignment for me.
You can see where the dissonance is of wanting more, wanting to live out your own potential, and then having that story about the separation that it's going to create and the division, the being left out or the being shunned, like we say, or others feeling that we think we're better than. Yeah. That was such a painful part for me, is being in the dissonance between the two, being disappointed with myself for settling, for stifling, for not being, and how I was dying inside of myself, and my body was sick.
Yeah.
My body was so sick. And yet the fear of stepping into that power, it felt like death. Like I'm going to die. My brain was just like, there is no way you're not going to survive this. You're going to die alone. No one's ever going to talk to you again. Like it was so, both sides were so powerful.
Yeah. And, again, when we're in those stories and in that belief system that they won't love me if, or they'll cut me off if, or I'll die alone if, then we bend ourselves to fit into these boxes. And this is where that pain body comes in. In my experience, it's just like, okay, I'm not good enough to be on my own. So I'll be in this space and I'll just accept. I'll just take it as it is. I'll not complain. I'll be a good girl. I'll follow all the rules. And then there was this point where Monique was like, fuck that.
Yeah.
But it had to get to that point for me to honor who I am authentically and what is in alignment for me. And, Kim, we hear these stories about, the tree grows and the fruit falls and the branches break. And sometimes we just have to let go of things, all of those stories, all of that's running in the background of everything that we do. And for me, it's like, yeah, what if the branch is too heavy? What if it's pulling me down? What if the fruit that falls actually plants a new seed and a new tree comes up right next to me? And now I have this other group of people supporting me, right? And it doesn't mean that the fruit that hit the ground isn't worthy or valuable or I don't love it, but it's like maybe it just wasn't meant to be on my branch, And can I trust the process of life? And can I trust where we're going? And that the seeds are being planted and that the energy is coming in and out and that the alignment is happening if I don't go into those negative spaces, if I don't start belittling myself or, you know what I'm saying? Like creating
I love this
separation.
I often see this forest. And I had this story of trying to be a part of someone's community. Like I just wanted to be a branch on their tree or a leaf. Could I just be a leaf? Could I just be a part of what you're doing? And I could name like at least 4 different containers that I tried doing that in, with essential oils, with yoga, in coaching, in, some of my healing modalities of, all of these certifications that I've taken. I just wanted to be a part of that community that I was learning in. I was like, I was really good at this. Like, I would like to serve, be here and be with these people. And I want to take a part and like part of the team kind of thing. I want to help teach it or coach or whatever. And I couldn't find that place. I couldn't get accepted. Like I was like, just let me be a flea under your wing, just a part. And then I had the realization that there is no difference. Like, so it's a forest and there's different types of trees. And that was like kind of okay. I was like, well, we're just separate trees. And then this past year, I had the realization that there's not a, how do you say that, a hierarchy like in the forest. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the branch, the leaf, the trunk, the root, one is not better than the other, right? And when I recognized the root system, consciousness was the thing that connected it and made it the forest. Mm-hmm. And then I recognized that the fear of growing my own tree was like me being like better or good or whatever. But it was like, I'll just build my own damn tree, that kind of thing, as if it were better than.
Yeah.
And when I had the recognition that it was actually all coming from the roots and the bark, the immune system of the tree, the leaves, the little branches, the new growth that comes out, all of it. It's all just parts. It's like the different parts of us, right? We have parts of us that are afraid. We have parts of us that want to do something big. We have parts of us that were wounded. And when I was able to see it that way, everything changed. Like my whole perception changed. And I was like, it's okay to be the trunk. it doesn't mean it's better than. It's just the position I hold, because it's that connection to the roots, to the consciousness of what I'm bringing in. So it still came back to the separation, right?
Yeah. I think if we could stop labeling, I don't know how many times you've said this, and this is my famous line now that I've stolen from you and I share with all my clients, and anywhere that I write anything, judgment and comparison, it's like, man, when I really embodied that line, that statement, those freaking 5 words, right? Like, it's like, oh my goodness, the things that I was able to open up and unravel and see in a different light, it totally changed things. And it's like, if we are willing to stop labeling, judging, comparing,
competing.
If we're willing to just be us, if we're willing to show up raw and honest and feel the feelings and have the conversations and do the things and be in alignment, life can be so simple.
Can you imagine us having the conversation of, I'm really jealous and envious right now, and it feels terrible to think that way, and I love you and I celebrate you.
How awesome would those conversations be?
Well, kind of leads us into another topic, which is, once you step into this work of, whether you want to call it awakeness or enlightenment or just pure awareness, or I think it's bringing the unconscious to conscious, whatever you want to call it. Our people change, like our conversation changes. And especially when you're in business, it's like, it's so exciting. We get dopamine hits all of the time. And then we find ourselves sitting at a restaurant or at a ballpark or at a wedding, and it's like, wah, 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 wah. It's so hard, as we're changing our circle.
This is interesting because it reminds me of the last several years. I've been a pretty calm hairdresser. I wasn't a gossipy hairdresser, but I was a hairdresser for 23 years before I moved into this. And so in the salon, at the nail desk, they tell you all the secrets, everybody's business, and so the conversations get a little intense. They get a little interesting. There's a lot of topics and judging and just cutting up, in the hair salon. And then I became a massage therapist, and HIPAA laws. I couldn't tell my client sitting in the chair, hey, your friend so-and-so is coming to get a massage today, because that's a boundary that we don't really cross, right? And so I started being more cautious of that. I started being more factual with things. Like, instead of giving all the information out when people would ask questions, I would kind of be a little more reserved. I'm a little more matter of fact when I speak. I want to not make assumptions. So I changed the way that I spoke. So instead of just going into the story or creating the gossip or talking or doing the thing, I chose not to engage. And I'm sure for certain people that felt uncomfortable, because they were used to me being the one that's like, hey, what's the word? Give me the news. Let's talk the smack. Let's be in the nonsense. Let's get a beer and talk trash about people, right? Like, that's so much fun. That's what we do. And then I choose not to engage. And I feel like that might be uncomfortable. I mean, I might be making assumptions, but I've heard a few little things here and there. And I'm like, I'm curious now if my shifting, created these boundaries that were not talked about, that were not understood, and then we make assumptions and we create more dissonance, and it just gets further and further if we don't do just like you said, like, hey, I'm a little envious. Hey, I'm a little angry. Hey, I'm feeling this way today, and I just want you to hear me out. And it's not personal.
No, it's just bringing up some shit in me.
It's just, this just triggered me, and I want to get it out. I want to talk about it. I want to release it, right? And if we could really honor each other in those spaces, how clean would these conversations be? How little confusion would actually happen? How many arguments and hurt feelings could be resolved or let go because they actually aren't intentionally to hurt you? It's just a perception.
Just habits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking of when you are part of the conversation about other people, right? Because I think like friends talk to friends, not about, like we talk to each other, not about each
Right.
other. And when you have that awareness and it suddenly doesn't feel good anymore, it's like when smoking doesn't feel good anymore, or eating trash food doesn't feel good anymore. And you're like, gosh, I mean, I'm tempted because it's such a habit. It's so comforting, in the moment, but I really don't like the way this makes me feel. And when we make that change, we have to go through that uncomfortable phase.
Mm-hmm.
And I see this a lot with like when the clients come in to do the work, but their family's not yet on board or their friends are not yet, they're coming in for themselves. And they all express this same thing. When you choose not to talk about people or be in that, like, don't talk about anybody who's not in the room with you. And that's kind of what happened with me is when my relationships changed and I really wanted deeper, more meaningful relationships, not small talk, but I mean like deep connected. I was thinking about like, I don't want to be in a room and when I get up and go to the restroom, they're having a conversation about me. I want them to have the conversation with me. Like if there's something I'm not seeing, I can honor that if I know it, but I can't if you're discussing it while I'm in the restroom. Then I don't know it. But then you come back and it's weird. You can tell what they've been talking about, right? Or you can see them look at each other. So it's not, I don't want to partake in that. I don't want to be participating in it. And I don't want to be the object of it. It's so uncomfortable in the friendship when you don't. And it must be almost like a reflected guilt or a projected guilt.
Yeah, possibly. I think it just, this is the perfect space to use like the 4 agreements, like to just honor. I get what you're saying. Nobody wants to walk in the room and feel like the conversation ended because they were talking about them. Unless you're planning me a birthday surprise or like buying me something cool, don't do that shit to me, right? Because I might call you out on it because I am that uncomfortable that my instinct will say, what's going on?
I know.
Right? And then that creates a whole different thing. That creates a whole different thing. And again, these assumptions, these taking it personally, these not being impeccable with our word, like all of that plays into that space for me. And so again, this is why I love and honor those agreements, because if I can speak from that place, if I can honor that in myself and in other people, it just feels very intentional for me. It feels very aligned for me.
If we could make sure everyone gets a copy of the 4 agreements, like middle school or teaching it, the concepts of it, I think all relationships will change. Anytime someone says, like, what's your book suggestion? It is always top of the list. I love Untethered Soul. I love The Big Leap. But the 4 Agreements is the book I have read, probably aside from Imitation of Christ, that I have read the most.
Yeah.
That I listen to twice a year. It's a very short read, and it is the most powerful set of tools for relationship building, aside from human design. I just, because in human design, it's a holistic approach to self-discovery. So it's when you can know yourself better, when you are not judging and comparing and competing, and you are doing your own work, you're reflecting and projecting that. And it opens up so much space for better relationships, better conversation, to be able to communicate more clearly and be okay with the discomfort, because the discomfort is worth the intimacy.
And, in human design, like honoring my quirks, honoring my design, honoring the unconscious and the conscious part of me that does the things, and just being okay that this is who I am and this is what I represent and this is what I love. And you don't have to love it. And I don't not like you because you don't love it. Yeah. Like it really is all okay to just be who we are. And yeah, I love that idea of just honest, open communication, asking the questions. That's something really that you and I have worked on for me specifically, because my mind will create a whole story about what's happening. And I'm like, wait, what? What's happening? Or I get confused. And so instead of hiding that or saying it's not safe for me to ask the question or I feel dumb, I will start to say that in a different way. Ask me again in another manner. Explain that from a different perspective, like so that I can really connect with the person that I'm talking to. And that is so much deeper and richer for me. And it's so much more meaningful, and it feels fulfilling and satisfied when we're done with the conversation versus me hanging up the phone going, what the hell did I just hear? What did I just make up in my head? Why did they hate me? Why did, like, whatever story I create, and that's our human conditioning.
Yeah. And I definitely want to credit you for that, because you have reached out and you're like, even some little simple, small little things that was just misunderstandings, but it has made our relationship so much deeper in our conversations that, like, I was able to reach out to you this week and say, hey, listen, this is going on. So it's probably going to bring up some stuff, but I'm just letting you know ahead of time. And so it's opened up that opportunity to be able to even talk about it even before it happens, now that we are aware of it happening. Especially when we're doing this deeper work, guys, there's so many triggers. And for Monique and I, she's a 5'1", I'm a 6'2", there we are aware that there is a language barrier between the two. Her being the leader, me being the role model, me being the visionary, and yet her being the practical researcher. It's like we're aware of those dynamics and we play on them. We use them, in a way to collaborate, in work, in business, in friendship. And it seems like it just gets richer and richer and more open, that we're able to know each other on that deeper level and expand and open what we can do together in the world with our strengths and knowing what our challenges are.
And then, again, just having that open communication and that trust, that honesty to be able to say, like, hey, I don't like this, or hey, this doesn't feel right for me, or to hash it out, or to just acknowledge, when things are triggered in myself, this is the opportunity for me to heal that, because it's not Kim triggering me. It's the story inside of me that's being sparked open again by something that reminds me of that pain, of that story. So, it's not taking these conversations personally and having that open honesty, again, is that place for all that to heal, and just to that wound gets sealed up so nicely. Like, it's not being ripped open every day that I hear a certain phrase or a word.
An ointment for the wound. It's so beautiful.
Just the honesty.
Two things that I want to bring up, and then we're going to close this out. One is, I just wanted to talk about this success shame again. And at the retreat we just attended, we called it the hot potato, the ability to receive. And especially, like, there was 3 of you together, the 5'1s together, and there was this like hot potato thing going on, but it was all around us. It was everyone in the room having a hard time claiming their own power, because that power was scary. And that success brought up what people are going to think about me. And that is the success shame. What people are going to think about me when I'm charging for this, when I'm making this much money, when I'm scaling, when I change the way I even work in my container. What would you like to share about that with the experience? Because you were there and you were, you were a big part of it. And you and I have done a lot of work, because I remember you sitting on your porch. And it was when you first really settled into your new place in Colorado and everything was going well, and you had moved away from, the being in anyone else's office. You were just kind of living it in that moment, and something came up for you. And so it reminded me of a retreat.
Like, I couldn't even receive that we actually were in the property. I couldn't even accept that I had done all of this work and put in all of this effort and aligned my thoughts and actions. That's my key right there. That's my thing with creating, like, that I had created this environment. And it was so unbelievable. My nervous system hadn't caught up yet. It was like, I'm standing on the porch. We had been there for days or weeks at that point in time. And it was just like, I can exhale. Like, all of a sudden I was like, like, I can breathe. It's not just some story that I made up in my mind. Like, we're actually here. And I remember talking to you about this, and you were like, feel this viscerally. And again, it was one of those moments where like my whole body just kind of shivered and I was like, oh, it's safe to be here.
Yep.
It's safe to be in the home that I love, that I dreamed of, that we worked hard for, that we lived in a camper for 3 years to find, right? There's a lot of stuff that went on in the background of this story that the public doesn't know, right? It wasn't just going to Colorado and finding a house. There was a vision, there was a commitment, and we were not willing to buy anything that was not in total alignment with our vision. And so we waited and we waited, and we just kept putting out in the universe, like, it will come to us. It will come to us. And when it comes to us, we will build it. And when we build it, they will come. And it's like that kind of like cheesy vision, but it was like I was in the experience of it and I couldn't even hold it. It was so hot, just like the hot potato, like it was so fast, but it had been years building up to that, and it's like, oh, my dreams just happened. And it's like, you can't absorb.
Yeah. And I feel it's important to just tell the audience what we're doing with the emotional processing. It's the healing of the nervous system. So then the system has been trained to be in that detriment, to be in that struggle, and so it's not just mindset. Like there's more than mindset. It's not just about changing and working on your thoughts and your attitude or your negativity or positive. It's not just about that. There's actually a whole system involved. There's actually several systems involved. And so just changing the thought is not going to do it because the system has already memorized this pattern. And so what we're doing, the integrative healing that we talk about in particular, the process that we're trained in, is the actual rewriting of the nervous system. And there's layers to get to that. So thank you for sharing that. And because it feels like, I can feel like, it feels like electricity going through my body when I'm shifting a belief. That's the depth of the work. It's not change your thought. It's changing your belief and then aligning your system to the new belief so that you can contain what just happened, so that you can stay in it and stay with it. And I think this is why you and I both say this all the time. It's like, we can't really tell you how to do it. We have to take you through it. It is an experiential process. And, it's so much deeper than being beat on the head about changing our thoughts. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's a perfect concept, change your thoughts. But if you don't believe it,
if your system is not on board, it's like your body is separated in different dimensions, different time and space. So what's your thoughts about with your clients, with yourself, your own life, your children, all of you? Because we are standing in the gap, we're standing in the generation gap. So it involves many people. Is that what you're experiencing? How would you say that?
Yeah. So it's like, can we receive? Are we worthy? Right. And so if you look at the belief systems, those systems we just talked about, we look at the generational patterns, the programming, the ancestral stuff, right? Like if you were taught and it was programmed in your tissue that success is evil or money is bad, or, with religion, we get into certain things, with school, we get into certain things, with certain environments, there have just been stories that were told. And as children, when we're absorbing all of this information, and it creates this belief, this story in us, and then we go out into the world and something really happens. Maybe we're adults, right? And something happens and it mirrors that story. This is that emotional signature that hits us. And that discomfort keeps me behind the fence. I can't go over it because I'm not willing to be on the other side to get made fun of. I'm not willing to be the crazy person that says, hey, you can do this. Hey, you can heal your life. Hey, you can release chronic pain. Like, it took me so long to say these words because I know I was on the other side of that for so long, and I didn't believe it, and it hurt to watch other people do it, and the struggle, it's so uncomfortable. And so the thought of putting other people in that position, or calling myself out, or being shamed publicly, or I mean, how many people have made fun of me on Facebook or social media, or argued with me, or I have family that unfriended me, and it's okay, because
it doesn't feel okay.
It triggers something in them, but from
I wish we could say we didn't care, right? But we do care.
Right. No, I do care. I do care because I love my people.
Right.
But I understand the discomfort of what I said for them was painful, But I also have to look at the other 100 or 1,000 people that read it, that it could help, it could benefit. And so I'm just not willing to shrink myself down and hide my truth and not verbalize what I've learned and share with the world, because I am a 5-1. I am a teacher. I am a creator. That is my job here. And so I'm going to honor that. And it may be uncomfortable some days, but I'm okay being in that experience. I've decided to just take that on, because I have these tools to go back to when I feel really confused or really shooken up, or the storm has taken me under. Like, I have opportunity to reach out and clean that up and heal in myself, because every time I take a next step, all of these people come with me. And I didn't see that. I just saw what I was losing and what was falling off. I didn't see how many people were like, we're taking that step with you, and how many people are behind the scenes watching and getting healing and getting help. And so for me, it's like, I'll not be shameful of my success. I'll not be shameful of what I've figured out and what I've learned, because I went through hell to get here. And I'm fine with that. I'll own it.
It's like,
and I'm proud of where I am, and I'm proud of how far I came. And I'm smiling when I say it, because I truly feel that.
It's like cheating on your story or cheating on your success.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that's the dissonance. It's like, wait, no, these are my beliefs. This is what my family or my heritage or my, whatever the tribe is, like, this is the thing that I've always known. This is the conditioning. I don't want to cheat on that because that's uncomfortable. But all this time, we're cheating on the success. We're cheating on who we truly are. We're cheating on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
Like the story, these people, those rich people, like that plays such a big part in it. Like we suddenly become the bad people, the way that the story goes. Anyway, this was fabulous. Thank you so much for coming on. I was going to do this by myself, and I texted Monique. I got the last, I was like, are you done for the day? Can you chat? I kind of snuck her into it. And she was like, yeah, I'm just finishing up. I was like, well, it's maybe a little bit more than a chat. So I've been doing Clubhouse for a while, and I like the interaction. So doing these by myself it's just not as satisfying. So kind of reflect it back and forth, because I think it makes more sense to the audience who find themselves in these positions and can actually see the potentiality it's inside of all of us. It's not just me sitting here on a microphone just saying, yeah, you can do it, rah, rah, rah. Like we're kind of tired of hearing that, right? We're kind of tired of absorbing more stuff, more information, and we want to invite you to implementation. Like, are you ready to start doing this work? This is what we're doing in Self-Healing Masters. We have challenges this month. We're doing a 28-day challenge of changing habits, and there's support, and we have daily challenges and a journal, and we're doing our morning jam and all that fun stuff. Is there anything that I didn't ask you or that you're dying to share before we disconnect?
Just really getting into alignment with yourself and honoring yourself, and maybe just begin with journaling. What do I want? That desire more, desire less in the front of the punchline is one of my favorite exercises, and it's just to draw a picture for myself, like, what do I want? What do I need? What would feel good to me? And go all out. Imagine whatever you want, and then you can clean it up, you can dial it in, you can make it more or less, but it's giving yourself permission to daydream, to visualize, to what would it be like if, and just playing in that curiosity, that childlike fun, that I've been able to put back into my life has been such a joy and so much excitement for me to just go, I'm curious how this would feel. I wonder what that would be like. right? And then like not judging myself for thinking it or feeling it or wanting to play in it, like just dabble, see what happens. Like give yourself permission to explore yourself.
So before we close, just give a little shout out for yourself and what you do. And we'll link your information down below for anybody who wants to contact you.
Yeah. So I am an integrative therapist. I've been trained by Kim, and I've been working with her pretty closely for the last several years now. And so what I do is I teach people to rewire neural pathways to release these chronic pains, these confusions in the body, these stories that have kept them trapped, and has created illness manifested in their body or discomfort or TMS, and so I work closely one-on-one with people and teach them how to release these things and embody the new way. And just like you said, this is an experiential process. It is not something you can describe in paper. It's not something we can give you an outline and say, go 1, 2, 3. It's something that in the moment when things happen, we drop into presence, we reconnect with our body, we unpack the story, we go through this specific route to create that visceral experience so that the new neural pathway is created and you can move forward with ease in that space. And so it's basically like anything that doesn't serve you, we can release it. We can get rid of it. You can change your physical body. You can change your relationships by looking at your belief systems and how it affects you.
Yeah. And for anyone who wants to hear Monique's story, we've done several episodes.
Yeah.
You can maybe link them, but I'm not sure. Do you know the podcast episodes?
Where me and you are massage number 66, 104, and 106 we did maybe with Kayla or Kelly, one of them. So
there's a few in there. I'm trying to say we've told it. Yeah, we've told it several times, and we've also tell it pretty often in the More Than Mindset Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we show up a lot in there. So thank you for hopping on with me.
Yeah, of course.
Alrighty, guys. So that's what I have for you this week.
If you guys have any questions, ask in the group or whatever. Just get a hold to us and investigate.
Or reach out and get on a consult. Get this stuff cleaned up, guys. Wellness is the way. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of More Than Mindset.